Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 228A of Tales with TR. First thing I'd like to do is thank my guest last week, Curtis Gabriel. Went over really well, had some awesome feedback. Curtis is spreading the good word, and I'm sure most of you have heard. If you're listening to this, you probably listened to that. And, Curtis is really doing a lot of positive things. He does some coaching, and he's gonna. I'm in the process of helping get him on the circuit when I do all these games like Easter Seals and Hockey Helps the Homeless. By the way, next week, Halifax Hockey Helps the Homeless. I'll be there the 7th and 8th. I think part of the 9th. We're gonna go on tour with Shoresy and play some games. But love doing Hockey Helps the Homeless, and we're really just follow my Instagram for more information. I'm gonna do a few of these this year. It's a great cause, good people, and we can really make a difference. So a lot of these things, people ask me, I'll get back to Curtis. Anyway, actually, Curtis Gabriel, yeah, so he's real good with fans and the hockey culture and articulating what it can be like to have to retire early. I mean, I retired ultra early because of injury. Curtis, and I've spoken about that. It wasn't easy. Same sort of thing. Curtis is, I think, 30, but I don't think expected to have his hockey career over so early. And he had a few injuries. There's McD. Look at that. McD, I'm literally recording a podcast. Can I get back to you shortly?
Yeah, I'm live.
Well, not really. You are, but no one can hear you because you're on my phone. But I'll call you back shortly. Ryan McDonald. He'll be coming on tour, so we're going. Where are we going? You just check my Instagram. It's posted on there, and I post almost 4 or 5 times a week. We're going to go to Buffalo, Detroit, Chicago, Toronto, Boston, and Philadelphia. At least we're doing more from there, but we're starting there, and it's for the most part between November 10th and 20th. But anyway, Curtis, and not only because a lot of people go through that. If you're goal is to be a hockey player, a professional one at that. You're always chasing that dream, and whether it's school or family or a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. Those things usually come second, and if not, you're probably not putting everything into your pro career. So even though someday it's going to come to an end, and it has to come earlier than later, because I still consider myself a young guy and man enjoying life. But my who knows? Maybe I'll play again this year. No, I'm just kidding. But people are done by my age. So, you have a small window. And I think the average NHL career now is between 3 and 4 years, because, again, that takes into account guys like myself who go up and get injured, that play a few games, people that might get called up at the end of the season for a game, when there's a bunch of injuries. So obviously those stats bring it down. But if you make the NHL, saying you've got 100 games, I think it is, the average is still only 5 years, right? So that's what you're getting. And I don't just mean, I don't even mean in this case at all, the monetary rewards. It's great. You're setting yourself up. Hopefully you can get whatever you can. Hopefully you play 20 years, right? But I'm saying the transition from every single day, the mindset of getting up, going in, having practice, someone bringing in the donuts and coffee for the boys, having the chat about the night before, rookies coming in, wherever you sit on the team. I enjoyed as a rookie coming in and talking with the leaders, maybe, to just see what makes them tick. Not always even talking, just see, that's Vincent Damphousse. He did something right to get himself where he is. And I'm not far behind him as a junior player that's touted, in similar and relative terms, at the time. I'm first round pick coming in. And I'm looking at these guys. I'm just talking about my NHL experience. My junior experience was the same coming in. I've talked about Todd Klassen. Oh, God, guys like Mike Collins and Chris Spencer, Chad Cabana. I could go on and on. Taran Samwith. There you go. My guest. I'm going to record it later today. It'll be out tomorrow. I looked up to Sandman. And when you become a veteran yourself, you like to go in there and Like they say, what goes around comes around. In hockey, it's obvious because you go from like being a rookie to a vet like overnight almost, right? So then and the more years you have, the more experience you can lend on to the young players or the trainers or whatever it might be, And that's just part of everyday life. Just going in, getting the boys ready, some coffee, some stories, go out there, have your practice, go hard, come out, maybe have a dinner together that night, maybe go out, check out some live music, maybe hit on some women, again, or guys, whatever you're into. But you do it all as a team. All-star break, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Where are we going tonight? What are we doing here? What do we do? What let us down tonight? What do we do to win? How did we lose that one? It's always we. It's we every single day. And you're riding buses, and you might complain about riding the buses. I always did. But when you're not riding those buses anymore and you're twiddling your thumbs at home, stacking shelves with Red Bull like I was, it's just a large dose of reality that just smacks you in the head harder than you've ever been smacked in a hockey fight. And that's my experience. And I mean, I got up there to the NHL, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people go through 12 years of that, and they're in the East Coast League, right? Not in Curtis's case. He played with 4 NHL teams, but his career was over before it really got off and running. Like you can hear him say, he is proud of the fact that he was there. And hard work. You don't just play one game in the NHL, and that comes from nowhere. It comes from hard work, determination, focus, right? If you play one game, and the odds on that happening, when you I think Bob McCown has it in one of his books. I think it's Hockey Observations, whatever he calls it, and one of them, it's when you're in Canada and you register for hockey and you put on your skates. You're 5, 6, 7 years old, Timbit hockey, whatever it is, you put on your skates. Now, the odds on you playing a pro game are, I think he said, 1 in 33,000. Professional, not NHL. Professional. The odds on you playing, I believe, in the NHL are, I think it was like around 100,000. So there's a lot of mental and physical adversity, right? And every day, the older you get, and the more of a prospect you become, and the more of a goal that hockey becomes. I'm not telling any young kids to put school on the side either. I only went to Tri-City because it had a school, and I was protected. And I don't know, you can get different deals, I'm sure. Whatever it was, I was protected. If I played one game with the Tri-City Americans, they owed me 4 years of schooling. It might have changed now. I don't know. I know that I think it's for every year you play, you get a year, maybe, in major junior. Obviously, for the NCAA, for CIS, it's different. But what I'm saying is that school can always be a goal. And no one ever wants to say you're putting it to the side. But when you're 18 years old, 17, turning 18 in your draft year, and you're rated near the top, like I was, and I can only talk in relative terms, but I did see played with a lot of players that were in every situation. But in my situation, I got to be honest with you. My 50th goal was more important than getting 50 on my math test. Not that I got 50, I got pretty good marks, but it just was. Like if you told me, and I was, for Tri-City, I was our representative that year for Scholastic Player of the Year. I was in Quesnel, I won the Scholastic Player of the Year twice. Like my father and mother made it real, school was a priority. And I remember even when we were leaving, part of the reason I didn't want to go to a few teams, they didn't have a school there. I got nothing against the Swift Current Broncos, but I remember my dad saying, well, that's not going to be good for, what if you go there and you break or you're not as good as you think you were, right? Tri-City are going to pay for all your schooling. And they have a school there, Columbia Basin College, which is a branch of Washington State University, a pretty fucking good school. I don't talk about it, but by the time I got to Montreal, I had, 12 courses under my belt, right? I mean, that was a goal of me and my father. Like it really was. My mother as well, okay? But my dad, I'm saying, he played pro and he had his degree. So he'd been through those steps exactly. So I was very aware that I can't fuck up my schooling. I have to get good marks. But I'm telling you from experience, that second part of my draft year, which, you're 17 turning 18. Now I was done. I graduated a year early when I was 16. So I was going to college then. So I guess high school was out of the way. But I remember dropping a couple of courses and looking at Ryan Marsh and saying, what do I give a fuck about stats right now? I remember saying it on the bus, just going, you know what? This is frustrating. I'm better off reading the fucking, back then there's no internet. Well, no cell phones anyway. We had the internet. No phones there was cell phones. There was no smartphones. You couldn't bring up the internet on the phone. So like we would study. The hockey news would come out every week and it reported all the stats in any major, junior, and any college and overseas. So you would read that and I'm like, I'm better off remembering that. What are my peers doing out in the Q and the O? Right? I'm better off learning Cam Neely's stats because they're going to ask me in the draft interviews, who's your favorite players? So learn Shane Corson, Chris Nyland, and Cam Neely's stats right now is probably more important than a train going from point A to point B, meeting in Spokane or whatever the fuck it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I remember going and trying to figure out math and stats and physics. And although I might have been slightly interested, it's just a lot going on, right? You're in Columbia Basin College and you leave and, you're taking this course with 13 people that are in class, 7 that are maybe doing it from distance. Yes, you could do distance without the internet. It was a thing a lot of guys on the team did. And then I'd go to the rink and TSN would be there with cameras and like Montreal, Detroit. Well, Montreal actually weren't there, but oddly enough. But like Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, Washington, like all these teams and representatives would be there. And you get to the rink and it's like, oh, the Washington Capitals want to talk to you, right? I don't give a fuck about algebra then. So like it just becomes, it consumes you. And what are we talking about? A game, chasing around a rubber disc, right? What are we talking about here? It really shouldn't be the priority, but there's so many rewards. And, when my dad played, it wasn't his priority. His priority was school. He used hockey to get a degree and then he fucking fucked off when he was like 24. But he was getting paid more as a teacher, right? We all know. Okay. Jesus Christ, I could go in the 5th round and still sign for 150. More than I've ever seen, right? Fuck, man. So like, and you're consumed by that and you go and whatever situation you're in, you find yourself in pro. Yes, some guys are like me, come in as a 1st round pick with expectations. Some guys are free agents like Darcy Harris that come in and walk on and they do so well in camp, they make it. But once you get to that minor league team, everybody's got the same goal, right? It doesn't matter where you fucking came from. Okay, here we are in Fredericton. I'm a winger, you're a winger. What are we going to do here? Now, you help each other out. I never once saw it as a level of competition. It was friendly fire with my teammates, and hopefully you get up. Aaron Asham and I are like the same player, except he shoots right and I shoot left. So there's oftentimes we're looking, going, okay, Corson's out tonight, Tucker's out. Which one are they going to call up? But if it was him, I'd high five him, right? But that and because you're immersed in team, and to succeed as a hockey player, you have to succeed as a teammate first, right? So as selfish as your instincts might be, you're not going to get ahead with those instincts, right? So by the time you're in pro, I think that's kind of ingrained in you. And for me, I'm an only child. So, my teammates were my brothers, still are my brothers. That was the part that was hard to break from. Whether it's the NHL, I think my last year of professional, was Orlando. It was the Atlantic Coast Hockey League. And there's no different than leaving the NHL from the point of view of you're on a team, you have a regimen, every day there's a structure to it, and it's what you know. I knew neutral zone traps and one-timers from my offside and where to go on the power play and how to do a cycle, how to prepare for a game. I know that stuff as much as a fucking physicist knows, how time and space work and how relativity work, because it's fucking every single day. And it might seem, you got to know your body parts, right? You got to know, what can I'm a power forward, but I really have weak wrists. And at some point I'm going to get in a fight with the wrong guy, and it's fine. My head might get hurt, but my wrists aren't strong enough to fight tight on me right now. I know that I'm just saying things that I went through. Okay. When I got to the NHL, I was like, everybody's different. Michael Ryder, for example, my buddy, successful NHL career to say the least, but Ryder's had these big wrists, right? He had a fucking shot on him like when he was 16, that was like one of the best in the NHL. Anybody knows who I'm talking about. Michael Ryder's shot's deadly. But he had to come from the other end. He had to get his lower body and his core way more strong. Now, not that I didn't need to work on that, but that was my biggest asset. I think people scouting me, that my biggest asset, stamina, balls, you can do that. Anybody can do that. But Nick, the in front of the net, it's one thing to go there, but you gotta have leg strength and core strength. And that was more natural to me than it was to Rides. And his wrist strength and his knowledge on where to shoot it. I had a creative hockey mind, but everybody comes in having to work on certain things, right? So, and those things you work on every single fucking day over and over and over. And it's not just knowing where to go to take a shot. It's okay, when I get that shot, what's going on? It's why you talk. That's why I promote Ryan Power all the time. Power conditioning, because he's great at working you out, but he also knows the body parts. He's got kinesiology, sports therapy, fitness, like all of these things. And as a player, you start knowing those things. What makes me tick, right? My junior career, I used to eat at like 3:00, go to the game, maybe eat again. I was kind of, and sometimes I'd get a stitch. I didn't even know what was happening. And it took like my second year before. And again, some people eat then. It's not like I would go to the team meal and not eat. I would just wait till the last, and then I got to realize I'm better off eating when I hit pro at 11 or 12 and playing hungry. And maybe that night having like half a granola bar, maybe an orange or something to get some in. But it took me a while to understand that. Once I did, right? Once I understood that, then it becomes, and that's everything. That's when to do, how much water to drink. I used to drink Coca-Cola during the game. Obviously, but if no one tells you that, because a sip of Coca-Cola isn't really necessarily really bad. There is sugar in it, right? You're going to get a little pop. And I think maybe that's what I was feeling. I didn't know the difference. So it took me a while to understand, okay, I'm going to need water here after the game. Gatorade seems to be, and it turns out it was electrolytes. I didn't know the difference. How to prepare yourself mentally. Those people say like now they'd use the word meditation. At the time, right? I remember people that you wouldn't expect. Like I said, Damon Lankow, my line mate that didn't say much, but he'd be like, you know what I do, Noof? I go in and I turn out the lights and I listen to, I think it was Tracy Chapman, Fast Car that day. Really, I can remember that specifically. But like it was basically listening to music. And I remember going, okay, and then listening to like my favorite Beatles albums and, with the lights off. And it would get me there to take hockey off but that's what I was doing, meditating. Now you would say, oh, you went in and found yourself and you meditated every day, I guess. But I knew that whatever it was I was doing was getting me set in that it was just calming my mind a little bit. I needed that. Not everybody does. And I need to be loose at the rink, but I can't be loose for my teammates if I'm stressed myself. Right. So to this day, even at ball hockey or played senior right up until a couple of growlers, right? I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll make sure something. Now it could be an old timey radio show. I've told you guys I like listening to from like the 30s or 40s, or it might be, some album that I'm connected to. It might be a book. It's usually sounds before a game, but it might be a book. Whatever it is, for at least 15 minutes, often as much as an hour, I just take my mind off of things completely. And, it takes a while to understand all that. And then one day you're 29, I was 24, 25, and it's just 23, I guess, when I knew it. I got a few more miles out of it, but 23 when I knew I was done. Not getting back to the NHL, I had to start planning for life after hockey. Curtis is 29. It just happens. Boom. And every single day you're with your brothers, you're with your teammates, you're with your friends. You'll go to the war. You might get traded to a team, not know anybody, and right away drop your gloves and fucking take a punch in the face from someone 6'4", 250 because it's hockey and you're picking up for your teammate. And it's so in you to be for the camaraderie of the team and the leadership to the young guys and, the hierarchy that exists. But within that hierarchy, there's a respect and a love, an unconditional love almost in hockey for your teammates. And then it's over, right? Now, go stack those fucking shelves. It's not easy. I'm telling you, it's not easy. And Curtis, I've seen him in action, and as well as most of the people that we do these events with, it's not just the biggest stars. It's people like Wendon Clark, Shane Corson. I told you guys about Rick Vive. These guys are major stars. And to be honest, a lot of them don't need the money. Of course, we get paid to do them, but we always make more back, a lot more. I know for a fact Wendell just loves doing it. I never was his teammate in the NHL or anything. I played against him, and I know about him from friends, but we've been doing alumni events for years. And I know that Wendell absolutely loves socializing with people that are hockey fans, and likes to help out when he knows he can. And I've often brought it up. We're at these things, and he's like, if we can help, we might as well, right? We just went to the Easter Seals and fucking raised $500,000 in Sudbury. In Moncton earlier for Heart and Stroke, earlier this summer was $1 million something, right? Not that, I think in Prince George, what was it, 200,000? Not that numbers matter exactly, but I'm just trying to put it in perspective for the people listening. I guess the original point was the transition over, but a lot of people choose to do whatever. A lot of pro players might become, I don't know, they might get into insurance. You might never see them again, and that's totally up to them. For me, I found myself in the lucky situation to be able to make people smile, raise some money, and that being part of my transition has made my transition way easier. Just like Curtis, right? I know it. I said, if you just get playing, you don't have to go out there and worry about fighting or hitting or impressing the coach. Just go out there and make people smile with every pass, every shot, every smile, every story, right? And so I try to spread the word to people that are recently retired, that are outgoing, that can help people out, because it's a symbiotic relationship. And I mean it. I go and do these things. I know I get paid. If I really wanted, I could do more cameos. I could start another podcast. I could do Jason Greger's show 5 days a week instead of 2. There's ways to get the money back. I just enjoy, to be honest, I enjoy the travel. People think it's a bit of a burden, but when you're from Newfoundland, growing up here, and it's always seems like a privilege to me to be able to travel for free, no matter if it's to Flin Flon or Florida. So that's part of it too. And, you're traveling a lot as a hockey player. So I think that the transition becomes not one of black and white, like, oh, you played and now you didn't. It's just a transition from playing pro to playing these events, but you're still involved. Anyway, so check it out. We'll be at Hockey Helps the Homeless. So I'm going to end this podcast being A, and I'm going to start 228B with Turan the Sandman Samwith. So thanks for listening. And of course, if you're downtown St. John's, why not check out the Bull and Barrel? Why not check out the Martini Bar, Rob Roy Confusion, Trinity Pub, and of course, Greensleeves Pub. If you're going to go for a bite to eat, why not try out the Loose Tie? Why not try out Blue on Water? And of course, Wedgwood Cafe and Elizabeth Avenue, who also do catering. Did I mention Ryan Power? I think I do every fucking podcast, because he's unreal. Ryan Power, power conditioning, strength and balance for the body and mind. Rope Walk Lane, check it out. If you want to go to Mr. Lube, there's 2 locations in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. One's on Torbay Road, one's on Kenmount Road. Live, laugh, lube. Pipple Pain Relief, pain sticks just don't quit. Go to pipplepainrelief.com, see what all the fuss is about. Mugsy jeans, they're just awesome. They're comfortable, they're stretchy, and they're my favorite jeans. Check out Mugsy jeans. Go online. They got great deals. They got great clothes, not just jeans. And I'm a huge fan. And not just because they do me favors to say that. I really am. It was the other way around. I sought them out, and now I get some free shit. That's the way it works when you got a podcast. Of course, True Hockey, take what's yours. Thank you to True Hockey and everything they do for me. I'll be back in just a few days, technically a few minutes, with Turan the Sandman Samwith. Thanks again to Curtis Gabriel last week. Thanks to all you guys for listening. Over and out. I'll catch you guys on the rebound.